Since the release of The Matrix, the idea that we could be living in a simulated world entered the popular consensus. But if it were true, how could we know? Is there a way to manipulate the simulated real world? There is a Matrix story that touches upon such a subject, where a programmer inadvertently creates a program so advanced that it can interact with the Matrix. This story not only explains much of how the simulation operates, but it gives a scenario of what would it be like if we accidentally discovered that we are living in a simulation. Welcome to Matrix Explained.
Welcome to the desert of the real.
The Matrix comic, Let It All Fall Down, is the story of a software programmer and a workaholic named Peter Schaap. His field of research involves evolving programming objects, or EPOs. In essence, this is a kind of machine learning similar to the ones that exist in our world. EPOs rewrite their own code to become more efficient as they are used. They fix their own glitches, anticipate the user, they evolve. Given their uncertainty, they need to be strictly confined. Peter is not happy when he discovers that Harding was using the EPOs for something that it wasn't designed for. His project is interrogative agents. They are designed to travel the internet collecting data, conducting surveillance. It's like mixing brains and viruses together. That idiot Harding. Peter immediately goes to confront Harding. Schaap, your Luddite learnings always leave me in awe. I'm doing this with the full blessing of the board. It isn't your problem. Harding had hit a sore spot. Schaap does have strong opinions about technological civilization. The Unabomber's critique had rung true with him. He even has a cabin in the mountains for periods of ascetic withdrawal. Peter was worried about the dangers EPOs could cause if it was released on the internet. Schaap contacts a hacker he knows by reputation, somebody with the handle Rain. He asks Rain to hack into Harding's system and borrow an EPO and leave tracks. Schaap, using a remailer, will email Harding anonymously so that the EPO can be downloaded from the website. Scare the bastard, but good. Schaap sleeps well that night. His loud ringing telephone wakes him up. It's Rain. Peter, you won't believe what I have found. Not on the phone. Come here. Rain sounds like a kid. He heads out into a morning storm. We are to think that this kid lives right here in the city. Peter arrives at Rain's apartment and knocks on her door. To his surprise, she wasn't a kid. She's a young woman. Thankfully, she is all business. I don't know what your EPOs are supposed to do, Peter, but this one has a streaming video. Must be Harding's innovation. What is that? Rain called Peter because he needed to see this in person. They're like incubators for adults. That text. There are names. Incredibly, one of the pods contained Peter's boss, Harding. But that wasn't the only surprise. Harding, but he's hairless. Who? Rain asks. Another colleague of mine. There are others listed in the text too. Is that me? Rain then makes an interesting observation. Peter, the way you're frowning your brow. He's doing it too. The person on screen who appeared to be Peter was mimicking the same facial expressions as he was at the same time. However, this disturbing moment was interrupted by the stopping of a car in front of Rain's apartment. She looks out the window and sees a group of men dressed in black heading towards her front door. Suits. Are they from your office? I don't think so, but let's not find out. There any other way out of here? Rain grabs her gun and tells Peter to throw her futon out the window. The mattress was thrown out of the window on top of a dumpster. They both jump out of the window and safely landed on the futon. My car's over there. Anybody following? I don't think so. But where are we going? My office. We'll see if we can get to the bottom of this, if there aren't any suits there. But instead of finding Peter's office, they find a shopping mall. A shopping mall? Is this a joke? Yelled Rain. Honestly, no. I don't understand this. The landmarks are right. Rain, something enormously is wrong. Maybe it's been wrong a long time. Schaap, I'm facing prison time thanks to you. Don't start playing head games with me. In a calm voice, Peter answers, It isn't me, it's the world. He then decides to take them out of the city, to the countryside. Where are we going now? Rain asks. the safest place I can think of. Peter takes them to a place where he goes precisely for moments like this, a place where he can hide and get away from reality, a cabin in the mountains. You built this? I had it trucked in, then planted seedlings on the road. It's off the grid, not even on county tax maps. It's my brother's property. We can think here. I'll start a fire. Inside the warm, cozy cabin, the two exchange stories. My ex-boyfriend taught me all I know about hacking. Maybe he could help us. My colleagues are out. My brother's in Malaysia. I suspect we're really on our own. You aren't some crazy who's gonna rape and kill me, are you? Peter turns away from the space heater and looks at Rain. I may be crazy, but I would never harm you. And I know I've drawn you into something terrible. I will do all I can to protect you. Now let's look at your download. Rain sets up her laptop and takes out her CD holder. I can't believe all you got. Once I saw what it was, I started burning CDs. I did it most of the night, probably the reason I was so easy to find. But then forces that move Walmarts to where offices were could probably find anybody. The contents on the videos that Rain had burned keep getting stranger, as the two watch as machines take care of humans inside pods. What was that? I have no idea. Could the Epos married with Harding's work have opened a door to something forbidden? This machine world? Rain has no explanation for this, nor for the hairless people. Some of Shop's colleagues, some strangers. The questions only compound until the laptop's battery dies. They talk, firelit, of the mystery of their lives. Exhaustion dissolves their defenses and reserve. They confess the fear they taste, like the cold night air, until at last they sleep. Or try anyway. Peter's Shop hears soft crying and wonders what to do. Barely able to sleep, Peter gets up early to find some water and returns to find Rain already awake and scared. Peter, you weren't here. I was scared. Peter walks up to the cabin with 2 jugs of water. I was getting some water. Rain goes to Peter and hugs him. The Epos are the key. We must open the door to others. So many others that crushing us won't matter. My ex can help with that. He could broadcast it so widely they'd never be able to clean up the mess. I don't know. I'm not sure we have the right to draw him into this. He's also a logical contact to make. He may be stalked out. It's a sound point, but even Shop is unsure how much he was motivated by jealousy. Rain insists. A quick call as he gasses up, and they'll go. It's a scene so normal, it calms them. Rain, I still don't know your real name. Keep it short, to be safe. Don't worry, it's Olivia Thompson, with an E. Peter almost pays with a credit card, then thinks better of it. He goes inside to pay cash. There's quite a line. Time to think and realize, how was Olivia paying for the call? What he sees next paralyzes him with horror. Rain sees them too and tries to join Peter inside. Rain turns and fires, but she was outnumbered. The agents opened fire and showered her with bullets. Peter watches in horror as her body breaks through the front glass, and all he could do was scream her names. Next thing he knew, he found himself wrenching in the restroom. He waits for them to come in and kill him. He doesn't care, but they don't come. Puzzled, sick, he peers out to a clean and banal world, without bloodstains or shattered glass, without a smart young woman. His mind clenches like a fist at the thought. Numbly, he goes to his car. So in other words, the Matrix changed again, and nobody had noticed. For a day he despaired, and once held a knife to his wrist, but he did not slice in. Instead he stuck it in the table, feeling something else, for even a hollowed out heart can be filled with something, rage and purpose. Now he will finish what he and Rain set out to do. Peter finds a closed internet cafe and breaks in. He has Harding's modified Epo, the key. First he loads it into each computer, and one by one, he prepares emails with Epos attached, to hacker and techie sites, to TV networks and the Pentagon, a wide spray of targets on every continent he knows an address for when they are ready. On one computer, he uses the Epo to hack into Harding's system, for he hopes to learn something there. The email sent, he goes to the door. It is now intact and will not open. There is no other door into the room. An odd architectural fluke. Had there been, cars pull up and Peter knows it is over. But a man tries anything at such a time, even if the laws of physics seem to have turned against him, and glass flows like taffy, sinking into his knees. He barely notices that Harding's system is showing the machine world. He half wishes he was one of the pod sleepers. Naive and oblivious, the screen shows his hairless pod self, uncovered and naked to a mechanical assassin. The agents enter the building without a word and unloads their guns on Peter. As some dying people see their life clearly and totally, Sharp sees 3 realities superimposed. In each, he is being killed. At that moment, when Peter's mortal coil was being severed, the moment that people have described as seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, Peter experiences something different. Perhaps a side effect of the EPO gave him a vision and power. The streaming green data was his to read and briefly to manipulate. At that time, only his presence in the Matrix code was alive. So he seeks Olivia Thompson, aka Rain. The green symbols tell him that her pod is vacant, her body recycled. She is truly gone. Amid the green over-reality colored data missiles, the EPOs shoot into the distance. With an ache, Sharp sees them dissolve amid the streaming greenness, like paper lanterns in a rainstorm. But 1 or 2 seem to survive, perhaps to awaken others to seed anarchy. With his last thought, Peter Sharp hopes it is so. This interesting Matrix comic reveals many details of how the simulation works, in addition to having symbolism similar to those in the movies. The first is the frequent rain. It is well known that in the Matrix, rain symbolizes the Matrix's green binary code. It tends to rain in the simulation during important moments of the trilogy, such as Neo's first meeting with Morpheus and his final fight against Smith. The comic seems to go a little further with this concept, because here the rain seems to symbolize when something changes in the simulation, transformations resulting from the simulation interacting with the real world. There is also the coincidence of the hacker character named Rain. Continuing with the concept of changes happening in the simulation on the fly, this is perfectly demonstrated when Peter's office building was changed into a mall and nobody besides him notices the change. Now there are 2 theories of how the simulation runs. One is that time passes continuously and uninterrupted from when the simulation begins to its eventual end. For example, if Neo's 6th simulation lasted about 100 years, based on what Morpheus said, it means that the cycle must have started at the beginning of the 1900s. However, the other theory is that the simulation always existed as a city at the end of the 20th century, as in during the cusp of human civilization. And after a certain amount of time has passed, say 20 years, the simulation goes back in time, and humans do not realize the change. The comic Let It All Fall Down seems to indicate that the latter is the most likely, because if you can make changes as drastic as in spawning an entire mall or instantly erasing a crime scene without anybody noticing, then who's to say that the entire simulation can't be changed in an instant? The comic also shows us something that we have not seen before. To kill a human inside the Matrix that somehow manages to escape from the agents, the machines go directly to their pod and do it themselves. We have seen many times what happens when a person dies in the Matrix, but they've all been red pills. As mentioned in previous videos, the machines could have implanted mechanisms inside the human body that kills them when they die in the simulation. In the real world, perhaps a machine comes first to verify the problem, as what happened to Neo when he woke up. And the most interesting thing about this comic is its ending. Some of the EPOs that Peter had created was left free to roam in the Matrix. This implies that they will cause issues to the simulation. So was this how the anomaly was created? Is it that in every simulation, someone always appears to create a type of AI that eventually interferes with the Matrix code, causing people to wake up and see it as Peter did before he died? Although the EPOS is not 100% the reason for the emergence of the anomaly, it certainly could have helped in its manifestation. But do you agree? Did Peter accidentally help in the manifestation of the anomaly? Does time pass in the Matrix uninterrupted until it reaches the end of its 100-year cycle? Or does the simulation soft reboot itself every few decades to remain in the late 20th century? For Matrix Explained, please leave a like and subscribe. And thank you for visiting the Desert of the Real.